Everyone has a copy of the book, which is just a delight, not only to read, but it's beautifully designed too. Obviously, a labor of love. In some ways, most good superhero stories involve an origin story of how the partnership came together. And one of the things I love most about this is about your lifelong friendship that you describe in here with a fellow comics fan, comic book fan. If you could talk about that a little.
Oh, I sure can. Bobby Klein and I became, and Bobby, by the way, is one of the guys responsible for the Grand Comic Book Database. He is incredible. Worked with Howard Keltner on that. Bobby and I met in 5th grade. He was a new kid that came to our school, and there's a whole story about how Bobby and I exactly met there. But I agreed to share my locker with him because we were baby boomers, and there were too many kids in every classroom and not enough lockers, not enough anything back then. And I opened up my locker door to let him put his jacket in, and he saw hanging in my locker an autographed picture of Superman. And that was it. We found out that we both had common interests in comic books, fanatical interests in comic books, and this was before the internet. Comics were a very isolating hobby. You didn't know there was anyone out there like you who was into it like this. There was no way to access that. And to find a fellow fan was an amazing experience. Well, it wasn't that many years later. There had been a big scare in this country starting in the 1950s, where comic books were accused of everything from being a communist plot to subvert the youth of America to being the primary cause of the post-World War II rise in juvenile delinquency. And in fact, there were also claims that comic books caused asthma because children were staying inside to read them instead of playing in the fresh air. So comic books were under severe attack. There were public burnings of comic books in many cities around the United States at that time. And my friend Bobby's dad got really upset one day. I don't know what Bobby and his brothers did, but that was it for him. He had enough, and I was in the house, and he took the fireplace shovel and shoveled Bobby's comic book collection into the fireplace. And I sat there and watched in abject horror as Fantastic Four number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 went up in flames. Little thing called Amazing Fantasy number 15 that introduced Spider-Man to the world. The first issues of Green Lantern and Flash, goodbye. The first run of Avengers and X-Men in cinders. And from that trauma, we became bonded for life, and we set out to kind of repair the damage and repair the comic book collection. We did figure out in the recent years that on that particular day, Bobby's dad probably burned up something north of $700,000 worth of comic books. But that